All right, here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. I'm sorry for being a little late. I am doing a special show here, and the reason I'm doing a special show is because this is a special role. And, well, as it turns out, it takes a lot longer to prepare for the special shows, and I didn't realize that when I started all this. So, here we are and ready to go. It appears I do have audio output, so... this is a 1938S roll of Lincoln cents. I have opened one roll like this that was wrapped at the same time with the same label, same handwriting. And it was, all in all, an outstanding Gem BU roll. I'm fully expecting this could be pretty much the same thing all over again. It's an older tissue paper hand-wrapped roll, so I'm going to very carefully tear it open because any instruments or anything else might actually damage a coin. So this is openable exactly as is. I'm just working on tearing away at the little parts and pieces of it, trying to get it opened up. And once I can get it to the point where I can get the wrapper out and open it up. These are actually wrapped over the wrapper. You can see the wrapper in there. We are live. And this has been wrapped up for a long time. I don't know how long a long time is, but I'm relatively certain this has been wrapped since before I was born. Long before. My figure is probably between 1940 and 1950. Getting all these little pieces of paper. This is very, very well done. Yo man, yes. Probably 8 to 10 RPM number 1 and 3 or 4 RPM number 3s. And the other good thing about the roll was that most of it was a solid Gem BU roll, if not even Gem BU Plus, working into the 66 and 67 range. Alright, there we go. The roll is open. Now I'm going to go ahead and pop the coins out of the roll and get started. Get this little piece of paper out of the way here. There we go. Alright. Yep. Looks like a solid Gem BU coin on the end. Trying to be very careful with these as I get them out of here. Trying not to cause any upset stomachs here. There we go. Nice Gem 1938S roll. Yes, Timothy, I will be doing both rolls tonight. The roll you're in will be coming up after this one is over. Okay, here we go. Coin number 1. Adam Chambers gets to find out what he's got first. And here it is. Oh, man. Adam, you got an RPM number 3 with some pretty toning. That little thing right there, this is RPM number 3. RPM number 2 has a bunch of stuff out to the west. RPM number 1 has a big hookup to the top. And this is RPM number 3. Let me back out on it some more so we can actually see the color on the coin. Man. I think, Adam, you got yourself a pretty nice coin here. Very nice RPM number 3. Let's check the reverse side. Of course, it's solid red. It does have just a little bit of color on it. No doubling, but it is an RPM number 3. So we're going to put this in a special place for RPM number 3 coins. And I'm pretty sure we're going to end up with some RPM number 1s out of this roll too. Okay, second coin goes to DRS.
And DRS, it's a normal 38S. This one's a normal 38S on the obverse anyway. So it's a pretty high quality looking gem coin here. And let's see about the reverse. Looks like no doubling on the reverse here.
And so that was for DRS. That'll be a normal coin, but it is a nice gem coin. Coin 3, Eric. Eric Beyer gets this one. Well, let's see what's on it.
Another, what appears to be a normal coin, bright red. Little hit on the rim up above in.
I do believe still a 66 quality coin. The luster on these things is amazing. Very nice looking coin.
Very, very nice one.
We will be looking at the reverse on all of these. Reverses are known, double die reverses are known for 1933, 38S, I'm sorry. I'm about to say 33S. I wish. Wish there was a 33S. Gem is at least a 65. And for the most part, I'm going to tell you all of these coins are going to be at least a 65 because
These rolls, the one that I opened was just outstanding. And I don't see any reason why these other rolls that are paired with it would be anything different. This is at least a 65 coin. Probably 66.
Beautiful full red coins. That was number 4, now number 5, Bob Hampton. Mr. Bob, here you go.
Here's your first one. Ooh, there we go. Nice RPM number 1.
Now this is RPM number 1. And I'll get it closer so you guys can see it really well. But this is a later die state of RPM number 1.
Meaning that the little hook to the north is not quite as... Here, hang on a second. Is not quite as obvious as it would be on earlier die state examples of this die.
But you can see here, this is the top part of an S, the center part of it right here, and then the lower part comes in down here. And so it's just overlapped another S. Let me flip it up this way, make it a little bit easier to see. But this is an RPM number 1. Later die state example of RPM number 1. And from everything I can see, it looks like it's a 66 coin. I would say at least a 66.
Turn the light down just a little bit.
So we don't get blinded by the luster. And okay,
65, 66 quality coin here.
Later die states only lower the value when it turns to RPMs. As far as the coins themselves in slabs, your die state's not going to
Matter any because the die state does not necessarily even calculate into the grade of the coin. Now for the RPMs, their value might be a little bit lower than earlier die states, especially for this RPM number 1, because it's more visible in earlier die states. So it's easier to see, and it's, well, naturally going to be more desirable. More desirable means more valuable.
Although there's not really any catalog difference in the value.
All right, this is for Mac McBride. Nice 38S, no die variety on this one. Very nice looking coins. I tell you what, man, I'm surprised these coins are so nice. Well, no doubling there, but man, just a mesmerizing coin to look at. All right, here's number 7. This is Randy. And Randy gets RPM 1. Another RPM number 1. Later die state example of RPM number 1. Hello, Mr. Worley. We got the 38S Lincolns out now. And they are sweetness and then some. Second 38S RPM number 1 in the roll. Only 7 coins in. We have an RPM 3 and 2 RPM 1s out of this roll so far. And here's number 8. Number 8 for Midnight Silver Run. And it is not a die variety, but it does appear to be an extremely clean coin. Yeah, let me see if I can show you what I mean by this. Let's see if I can get my dyno working well enough to do this. Hang on a second. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, this will work. There you go, look at that. This is Midnight's coin. You get that thing graded, it's going to go 67. Best RPM for 38S as far as value is concerned is RPM number 1. Number 2 tends to be a little more common. This has got die scrapes on the reverse. It's not going to change the grade of the coin any. It will not detract from the grade of the coin. This can still grade 67 easily. Pretty decent chance this is a 67 grade coin. So, very nice for Midnight there. It's going to go in the normal coin pile. Just remember that when you get it, you need to look at it very closely to see whether or not it's something you want to turn into one of the grading companies. All right, let me go back to the microscope. And we're going to look at coin number 9 now. Coin number 9 will go to Mac. This is coin number 9. And this is not quite as clean as some of the other coins, but this is still a higher end 65 to a 66 level coin. The luster on these things is just maddening. Hello, Ted. Got Ted here too. Oh, yo, man, you wouldn't believe it. Just look at these things in hand. Oh my gosh, they really do look. They look like they were made yesterday. No, this afternoon. They made them and just put them directly under my scope. These things are just amazing. All right, here's number 10. And so far, RPM number 3 is a relatively scarce RPM. Not a whole lot of people have them. There's another number 1. Later die state, RPM number 1. No, Larry hadn't been born yet, I don't think. This one does have a couple of speckle spots on it. But this is RPM number 1, folks. Okay. This one's for David Music. And that's going to go in the slot for RPM number 1. Got 3 of them in here so far. Just in this one roll, up to the first 10 coins. That's right. 3 number 1s and a number 3 so far. Here's one for Adam. Adam Chambers. And this one is not an RPM. There's only 3 different RPMs known for 1938S. All 3 of them are pretty well documented, although number 1 and number 2 have been documented for a long time. Number 3 hasn't been documented for quite so long. It's only been known for, about the past 10 to 15 years. Numbers 1 and 2 have been known since the 1960s. Believe it or not. All right, there, 13 got ahead of 12. So here's 12. Penny Hoarder. Penny Hoarder is going to get this one. And this one is not an RPM, but it is a flashy, beautiful 1938S Lincoln. Not a double die on the obverse or the reverse, so we just keep moving. And this roll is a special deal, really is. To open a roll of original coins that are as old as this roll, what is this, 100, what's it, 80 years old? 40, 60, 80, yeah, about 80 years old. I mean, it's not very often that you're going to run into an 80-year-old original roll of pennies, you know, in this condition. Tell you what, whoever put these together knew what they were looking at when they found them. They did a great job of securing and storing them. I only hope that we can continue that level of care for these coins. Here's number 14. This one goes out to Sissy. I notice Sissy is here this evening. Good evening, Sissy. And this one is, I believe this could be an RPM number 3. I think it is an RPM 3. Either way, it's a beautiful coin. Beautiful high-end red BU coin. There we go. And I flip it over real quick. I scrub my hands very well with antibacterial soap, dried them out very well prior to this foray into this roll. I take a lot of care to make sure that I don't put my fingerprints on any coins. And while that turned out to be possible RPM 3, I'm not sure. I've got it sitting in the stack for them anyway. Now Adam Counter. Adam Counter comes up next. And this is another RPM 1. Another late die state, RPM number 1 for Adam Counter. Just to give you guys a good idea, RPM number 1 in a full gem BU like these are is a $40 coin, $30 to $40 coin. So everybody popping these right now that paid $9 a piece for these is getting one hell of a deal.
And if they happen to be a 66, you're talking about a $75 coin. If they're a 67, for an RPM number 1 in 67, you're probably talking about a $150 to $200 coin. Easily. All right, Jeff Dunn. Another RPM number 1. RPM number 1 for Jeff Dunn. Looks like a 66 quality coin. It will be very seldom that I will be able to bring this kind of level of coins to you guys. It just doesn't happen often. Number 3 has a die scratch heading south off the right side of the T and cent. Okay. Taking a look at coin number 1 again. South off the right side of the T. Well, there is a die scratch there. Number of north and south die scratches running through the E and the T in cent, and 1 cent. So let's take a look at this coin number 14, the one I suspect could be an RPM number 3, and see if it has the same reverse markers. No. Not the same. Probably not the right die. Definitely not the right die. Bummer. Well, I was going to check for this anyway. Better find out now than later. This is not an RPM number 3. It's going to go back in the stash of coins, in the regular coins. It's coin number 14. Now coin number 17 comes up next as Carl. Coin number 17. Let's see what we've got on coin number 17. Here, let me get this stretched back into focus the right way. And we have a non-die variety coin here. Not an RPM. Not a double die obverse of any sort. I'll flip it over and see if we might have a double die reverse, possibly. And the answer to that question would be no as well. But we do have a very nice coin for Carl. Now number 18. 18 goes to Marshall. Coin number 18 for Marshall is this one right here. And we have a non-die variety coin. Not an RPM. Probably not a double die, because we've been through enough coins in this roll to know whether or not we had any double dies in it. Yeah, nothing there. Nice gem coin, though. That's for sure. Now number 19 goes to Frank. There's an RPM 3 for sure. That's a for sure right there. Got any other markers, yo man? This is a late die state coin. So we'll flip it over. We'll take a look at the T for the marker again. This is out of a holder, so it may be easier to see. It does have the same markers. May not be the same ones you're looking at. It may be a different die state. But I'm assuming that you're talking about this right here, and perhaps possibly one over here. They're probably going to match up with these. But this is definitely RPM 3. I don't see much for other markers on here. Not much of anything. Well, we do have a couple of die scratches above the E and the dot. E pluribus unum. Frank, definitely a nice RPM for you right there.
Now here's number 20. Adam Connor. Adam Connor again. And not an RPM. Yeah, it looks like nothing on the obverse. Let's flip it over and take a look at the other side. And we got nothing on the reverse either. That's coin number 20. Now 21. Sissy. Coin number 21. And an RPM number 1. Definitely an RPM number 1. It's a later dice state RPM number 1. Here, I'll show you what it looks like in earlier die state. Let me find it here real quick. This is what it looks like when it's in earlier die state. Come on, quit it. There we go. You can see that curve real clearly. You just barely see the curve that makes up the bottom of the S. So it's an S over S north. And if you look at what we have here, you can see that the curve is there. It's just worn out. And that's what that is. So this is an RPM number 1. Nice going, Sissy. You got yourself an RPM 1 out of the roll. Now coin number 22 goes to Yo Man. See what Yo Man gets. And normal coin. This die has been repeating itself. You can see that die gouge underneath the center of the 9. I've seen that in this roll before. So this Bob Hampton is an original roll. It's an original roll because the same dies continue to repeat one right after the other. These came out of an original source of material, and that source of material somebody wrapped into these rolls. When they wrapped them into these rolls, they saved these rolls back, and they have been together all that time. These coins have been in the same container with one another since the day they were minted. They might have shifted from one container to another to another. There's another number 3. This one's for Marshall. RPM number 3. But the fact that we're getting the same condition, the same colors, the same dies, and the same die states with the same markers, coin after coin after coin, tells us that we do definitely have an original roll. Coin number 24 now, David M. This is for David Music. David's already received 1 RPM this evening. What does he do now? You know, this one is going to turn out to be a normal coin. 1 RPM so far, plus a normal coin. Wow. I flipped this thing over and the reverse is nearly proof-like. It is so nice. A couple of little spots here and there. Keep it out of a 67 holder, but man, this is beautiful. All right, there's number 24. Now number 25. Number 25 is going to go to Malcolm. Malcolm's first shot, I think. We may have had one before, but oh, there we go, an RPM number 1. Malcolm gets an RPM number 1. There we go. Now coin number 26. Coin number 26 for Adam Connor. Adam Connor's beautiful, big, bright, bold coin is a normal one, it appears.
couple of small marks here and there. Not marks, but bag marks. Bag cut hits. Not much though. I mean, this is a really nice looking one. Very nice coin. Yeah, you guys are all going to be very pleasantly surprised when you receive these coins. They do look nicer in hand than they do under a camera. And this one might be an RPM number 3, but I'm kind of doubting it. It looks like a hit on the mint mark instead of an RPM. We'll take a look at the reverse and see if the marker is there for the RPM. I don't think it will be. No, this is different. Different markers, different die. This is actually earlier die state than the 38 RPM number 3s that we've been pulling. And that's for Carl. Here's one for Marshall. Another one for Marshall. What do we get for Marshall? It's another normal coin, but man, these things are bright. I just can't say it enough. Oh no, I love that you guys are getting these coins, but I almost miss watching them go away. These are just catch me out coins. They're really nice. All right, here's one for Marshall. Looking up next, Eric. What does Eric get? It's a normal one. See the die gouge right under the middle of the 9? Seen this die a few times before. This one's got just a few speckle marks on it, too. A little bit lower grade. Clear 65, but that's about it. And 65 in this is a non-gradable entity and not high enough value in an MS65 red to grade the 38S. 66 is the lowest grade I would consider grading. 67 has some value. 67 plus is what you're after. 67 plus is still well over $1,000. Here's Frank. I don't know that I'd call any of these 67 plus. However, there could be some candidates here. Another RPM number 1. RPM number 1 for Frank, and this one has a little bit of a wood grain effect to it. You see just a little tiny bit of a woody going on there. These lines running up and down. Take a look on the reverse and see what we have there. Okay, got a couple of hits across the left wheat hairs, or wheat lines. Hairs, lines, whatever you want to call them. And that's about it. So this one has at least some candidacy for an MS67 grade. Did I say that this was an RPM or not? It is. RPM number 1. That's coin number 30, and they're all now 31. Adam Chambers. Another RPM number 1. Adam will have this one graded. We'll find out what the grade is on this one, I'm sure, because I'm pretty sure Adam will have this one graded. Looks like a 66 to me. Shot 67. Possible. Easy 66, though. And that one's for Adam. Now 32. Coin number 32 for Sissy. This one's got a couple of spots I can see on it, so it's not quite as nice. It is an RPM 3. Definite RPM number 3. It's got a stain right there. That's not really a hard spot. It's a stain. Looks like it was struck into something or struck through something on the rim. It's a little bit darker, just a little tinge darker than some of the other coins. Doesn't quite have the value of luster, but it's still a pretty nice coin, and it is an RPM number 3, so
There we go. My RPM number 3 is a graded MS66 red. The problem with it is that it's only graded, it's not attributed, because it is a PCGS coin. PCGS does not do the 1938S RPM number 3. All right. Well, that one turns out to be a normal coin there for Frank. It's coin number 33, now 34. 34 goes to David Music. See if we can get you an RPM here. Get you another RPM. Put you on the list. There we go. Got you RPM number 1. I think, David, that might be your second RPM number 1 out of this roll. If not, it's a 1 and a 3, which is a really good start toward an RPM collection for 1938S, because there are only 3 different ones known. Number 1, number 2, number 3. Here's coin number 35, Bob Hampton. Bob Hampton, coin number 35 is? Well, it's a normal one. A little hit out in the field in front of the nose. That's going to probably drop us down to a 65 grade, unless the back is just absolutely pristine, which, it's not too bad, but I don't think we're going to climb out of 65 territory with this one. But 65 red and a 1938S, come on. Seriously. How often are you going to find those? All right, here we go. Number 36, Yo Man. Back to Yo Man. Let's see what Yo Man gets. RPM number 1. This one's got a little bit of a hit on the 9, though. A little bit out in the field in front of the forehead. Not quite the level that we've seen with a lot of these other coins, but, well, I tell you what, even in this level, it's still a nice coin. That was a nice RPM number 1 for Yo Man. Now number 37, Malcolm. We are getting a huge number of RPMs in this roll as compared to other like rolls that I've seen. A very RPM rich roll here. All right, and that was a normal coin there for Malcolm. Now number 38, Stephen A. Stephen, this one's yours. RPM number 1. There it is again. So you can see that curve a little bit better if I shade it most of the way. It gets lost in the flow lines of the area. When you cover up the flow lines, the doubling shows up better. And that one's for Steven. I don't think I've ever seen so many 38S RPM ones in one place at a time. This is a new record for me. And here is another RPM number 1. This is for Bob Hamilton. Or Bob Hampton, I'm sorry. Bob Hampton gets himself another RPM number 1. Oh, okay. This one's got a really nice lamination on it, too. So now you've got an RPM with an error. How about that? Big old lamination peel right there. And an RPM number 1. That's ba-bam right there. There you go, Mr. Bob. That's coin number 39. RPM number 1 with an obverse lamination. Here's number 40. This one goes to Malcolm. Number 40 for Malcolm is an RPM number 3. Definitely nice. RPM number 3 right there. Well, you have a very, very clean coin, too. It's a very nice looking coin. Got a little scrape running down the cheek and jawline. That's about it, though. The fields are very nice and clean on this one. And there's your reverse. A couple of little stains other than that. Just beautiful.
Likely a 66 level coin here. That's Malcolm's number 3. Now we move on to Carl Ignatz. Carl. This one is not an RPM. But it is a very beautiful coin. And for number 42, Midnight Silver Run. Let's see what we got here for Midnight. Another RPM 1. RPM number 1, LDS all over again. Beautiful coin. Looks like everybody's going to get an RPM 1. I feel like Oprah again. Man, that's a beautiful coin. High quality, high grade coin right there. Now number 43, Steven. See what Steven gets. Of course, it's another RPM 1. I see just a little remnant of Larry on this one, though. Right up over here you have, it appears to me to be a little bit of a fingerprint. Let me see if I can find it again. It was showing up at one angle only. Right there. You can see it all the way up at the very top of the picture right now. A couple of lines. Yeah, maybe just a little bit of a fingerprint on this one. But certainly not much. So this is another RPM number 1. Talk about your $200 rolls. This is probably a, I'm going to guess anywhere between $800 and $1,200 roll of coins. Another one for Eric. It's number 44. You get these moves so that you can see the number on the feed pile. There we go. Here's number 44. This is for Eric. And Eric gets a normal coin. Slightly darker in color. Slightly less in not having quite as much luster. But a beautiful coin nonetheless. That's for Eric, coin number 44, now 45. Mac McBride. And Mr. Mac gets, it's a normal coin. You can see the gouge right below the center of the 9. That gives us our knowledge that this is a normal coin. That's a little, yeah, it's a little scrape on the coin. $46 now. Another normal coin. This one's got to go to Randy. You're 0 for 3, Mac. But you got spots on the next roll too, right? I think you got spots in the next roll too. You're 0 for 3, really? Wow. Midnight. Another RPM 1. Just a little bit of a friction wheel damage on this one. That one will go out to Midnight Silver Run. $48 DRS. And this one is not an RPM.
Also not a double die. Now number 49. With 2 coins left. This is one of those 2 coins. This one's going to Yo Man. And Yo Man gets RPM number 1. Another example of RPM number 1. Man, this roll is absolutely loaded. Beautiful reverse. And the 50th and last coin of the roll goes to Randy. And the reverse was facing out, so the reverse has some toning on it. It is not an RPM. Okay, a little bit of color up toward the top of the obverse on this. Just a little bit of color here and there. The reverse has some pretty decent color on it. From the old wrapper. But it's not an RPM. So there we go. That's all 50. Let's take a look at the RPM number 1 coins. RPM number 1 coins are 49, 47, 43, 42, 39, 38, 36, 34, 31, 30, 25, 21, 16, 15, 10, 7, and 5. And that would be how many? $17 coins. 17 RPM number 1s in this roll. Here's RPM number 3, number 40, number 32, number 23, number 19, and number 1. RPM number 3, there were 5 of them in there. That means almost half of our roll was RPMs, and much of the other half was better grade coins, some of them really high grade coins. So there you are. That's that. Give me another 10 minutes and I'll be back with the second roll. Second roll will be one that is extremely similar to the first because they came from the same source. And I will talk to you guys here in just a few minutes. Have fun.